2,000 years ago, getting this wrong could get you killed. Not fired. Not fined. Killed. Tonight you'll unlock your phone with your face. Face ID maps over 30,000 points across your skin, checks the pattern against the one stored only on your device, and lets nothing else through. No copy leaves the phone. No image for anyone to steal. It'll feel instant, automatic, almost boring. But the logic behind it, matching a unique pattern, rejecting anyone who doesn't fit, was already running in Rome 2,000 years ago, built from bronze. No electricity, no code, just pins, springs, and a single key cut to fit one lock and nothing else. That lock wasn't protecting a phone. It was protecting grain, silver, wine, an entire household survival. And the person holding the key to it usually wasn't the owner. It was a slave. Inside that lock sat a row of tiny bronze pins, each cut to a different height, pressed down by springs, Rome's own invention. Without the exact key, those pins jammed the bolt. No force on earth moved it. Only one key, with teeth cut to lift every pin to precisely the same line at once, could open it. Swap bronze pins for infrared dots, and you're already looking at Face ID. But Rome didn't invent this. They inherited it. 1,800 years earlier, Egyptians were already locking doors with wooden pins and 2-foot wooden keys. Crude, heavy, but the core idea, one unique pattern as the only way in, was already alive. Rome just shrank it down to something you could wear. And they did wear it. Bronze and iron keys were cast into rings and worn on the finger, sometimes in gold for the wealthy. Archaeologists Fausto and Felice Niccolini documented several of these, recovered from Pompeii, sealed perfectly by the volcanic ash that buried the city in AD 79. A key on your hand wasn't a tool. It was a public announcement. This person is trusted with what's inside. That ring was often handed to a slave. A household manager, a steward, sometimes a wife, made personally responsible for the most valuable room in the house. In a legal system where slaves had no personhood, where they could be flogged or sold on a whim, one person was still handed the single object that could open everything the family owned. Total powerlessness. Total practical trust. At the same time. And if that trust broke, Rome did not forgive it. Under the 12 tables, a thief caught in the act could be flogged and handed over as a slave on the spot. Citizens later paid fines instead. But for an enslaved person caught stealing, the penalty could still be death. Some were thrown from the Tarpeian Rock. One murder changed everything. In AD 61, a senator named Pedanius Secundus was murdered inside his own home by one of his slaves. Roman law said when a master was killed by a slave, every slave under that roof died with him, guilty or not. The historian Tacitus recorded what happened next. 400 people executed. Crowds filled the streets to protest. The Senate debated overturning the law. They didn't. The executions went ahead. Sit with that bronze ring again. It wasn't convenience. It was a weight that could end in mass death if the wrong person broke through that door. Even the lock itself fought back against intrusion. Some Roman doors were fitted with false keyholes, dead ends built purely to mislead a thief picking the mechanism in the dark. 2,000 years before cybersecurity existed, people were already designing decoys to trap attackers in dead ends, the exact instinct behind today's honeypot servers and fake login screens. Locks were never about objects. They were about who gets trusted and what happens when that trust collapses. For most of human history, trust had to be physical. Hand someone an object, and that object became proof of belonging. Lose it, and you lost everything it represented. A key could be copied by a smith who studied it closely enough. Stolen off a sleeping hand. Lost in a river, locking a room away forever. Every household built on bronze and trust was one missing object away from disaster. Now look at what's in your pocket. No copy of your face ever leaves the phone. Engineers solved the exact vulnerability that haunted Roman households for centuries. You can't misplace your face. You can't hand it to the wrong person by mistake. But were those ancient locks ever actually reliable? Not as reliable as they looked. In Egypt, around 1100 BC, royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings were broken into and stripped. The people responsible, guards, officials, the very men paid to protect the treasure, helped carry it out the door instead. One record even describes a guard assisting in the plundering of the Karnak temple complex. Tutankhamun's tomb, the most heavily sealed burial in Egyptian history, was robbed at least twice in antiquity, decades before it was ever rediscovered in 1922. The locks held. The people didn't. It was never really a lock problem. It was a trust problem, the same one sitting underneath that bronze ring on a Roman steward's finger. Face ID has its own version of that problem, just rebuilt out of light instead of bronze. In 2017, a Vietnamese security firm called COV built a mask, stone powder, 2D printed eyes, under $200 in materials, and unlocked an iPhone X with it on the first try. They called it the evil twin attack. Around the same time, a 10-year-old boy picked up his mother's iPhone, looked at it, and walked straight in. No mask required. His face was simply close enough to hers. Apple admits as much directly. Identical twins, siblings, and children under 13 can sometimes pass as each other to the system because the differences a camera looks for haven't fully formed yet. So no, the new lock isn't perfect either. It was never going to be. But a mask that takes 10 hours to build, or a face that happens to share your bone structure, is still a far higher bar than a key sitting unguarded on someone's finger. Half a lock has always beaten no lock at all. The Romans knew that. They kept upgrading anyway, bronze, then steel, then something better, because the alternative was leaving the door open completely. We're doing the same thing now, just with light instead of metal, still closing the same gaps, one generation at a time. The object is gone. You are the key now. Wood became bronze. Bronze became steel. Steel became silicon and infrared light. But the question never changed. Are you who you say you are? Tonight, when your face unlocks your phone without a sound, remember what that gesture descends from. A bronze ring on a stranger's finger. A door that stayed shut for everyone except the one person whose pattern matched. 2,000 years of the same question, asked in a fraction of a second. You'll unlock your phone without thinking about it tonight. Now you know exactly what you're really doing.